MiG during the Second World War was only able to get one fighter into production, the MiG-3, but today they are one of the premier fighter producers along with Sukhoi. For Antonov to stay relevant in a very difficult political system, they needed to find a niche. This they have done with transport aircraft. Over the years, they have produced a slew of excellent transport and large-scale aircraft. One of those is the excellent A-20 series of planes. It saw decades of service and proved itself to be a strong airframe that was able to work well in difficult conditions. It first flew in December of 1959 and had some similarities to the Handley Page Dart Herald and the famous Fokker Friendship. Its performance did not match those of the West, however. It required longer runways and had worse fuel economy. Be that as it may, the AN-20 series would be an incredible success story and would go on to outsell all of its competitors. It was realised that the Li-2 was starting to not live up to the proud Soviet ideals. This aircraft was based on the excellent DC-3, but for the modern Soviet state, this World War II aircraft was not projecting the right image, as well as its performance was starting to lag behind. A replacement, though, would not necessarily be easy. The DC-3, even at that stage, was a solid airframe. Also, the scope of Soviet operations meant that they would be operating in all kind of conditions as well as terrain from sand deserts to the Arctic. Designed as a 40-seat passenger aircraft and to be maintained easily by ground crews, the quality of the ground crews was a concern, so much so that it was considered to be made as a biplane with fixed undercarriage, no pressurization and simple piston engines. It entered service in 1962 and came with 32 seats but would end up with 44. The cargo compartments were above the floor and this eliminated some of the space available for seating. A glazed nose was originally proposed. This would be for the navigator's position. The final design would have a standard solid nose with the radar fitted. The glazed nose would eventually find itself in the series with the AN-30s. Cockpit was for 3 crew, pilot, co-pilot navigator, and an engineer. Some strength would be required to fly the aircraft as it was fitted with manual controls. De-icing was a big consideration based on its operations, and a clever design where hot air was pushed through holes in the tail and the leading edge of the wings. The wings are quite heavily loaded, and to help lift at slow speeds it comes with large hydraulic flaps. It also has a gas turbine. This is started from the aircraft itself and can be used to start the aircraft's engines as well as some of the other system's functions. The aircraft could be operating from areas that lacked decent ground facilities, so this system was necessitated. The fuel tanks are located in the wings. The Series 2 was released with water injection and allowed power to be better maintained in hotter environments. The Series 2 also had the benefit of an increase to its range, which would be over 500 kilometres. The 24T would enter service and was a dedicated cargo variant. The rear of the aircraft was redesigned. A vertical door was added and modification to the tail was also required. It was large enough to accept small vehicles and comes with a hoist and a conveyor to aid in the pulling of the cargo into the fuselage. The military version could carry 38 troops or 30 paratroopers. It can also be fitted with special internal rods so that beds can be placed for medevac. 1967 saw the AN-24RV enter service. One change was the old gas turbine was replaced. A turbojet was installed, which provided ground electric power but also a little extra thrust on takeoff. The NATO designation was Coke and more than 1,000 would be made. It would be phased out for newer designs, but the AN series would live on in China, where they would continue to build and improve the design over a number of years. The AN-26 Curl was the evolution of the cargo design. The rear of the fuselage was heavily redesigned. A new power-driven cargo door was fitted. This can be pressurized or opened in flight to provide for airdrops. It proved popular with smaller airlines that used this type, but its real users ended up being air forces. It was fitted with improved engines as well as modifications to the aircraft to allow it to stay in service longer in unpaved and difficult conditions. The AN-30 is a photographic and survey plane. Known as the Clank by NATO, this variant comes with the glass nose. This required the cockpit to be modified. It is higher than the standard aircraft, where that is flush with the fuselage. The AN-32 was the last of the main line. It entered service in 1977 but shares a lot in common with the AN-26. It came with a lot more complication in its operation, but did not really show much improvement in performance. With around 40 countries using the type at some point during its lifetime, the aircraft was extremely successful.